Hey guys, what's up? It's Monkazunky and welcome to a new video. In this one, we're going to be showing off a power slaying method, if you want to call it that, for killing the Cadarn elves in the Elf City on your Slayer assignments. Now, this is going to be one of the best Slayer XP rates in the game, right up there with Eretz with the absolute elite Slayer task for experience, and also it's pretty darn good money, especially if you're using the area looting. Makes it really easy to pick up all the stackable drops that the elves drop, and therefore you can make a really nice amount of profit with this task. So since the release of the updated 2H melee abilities, the Noxious Scythe has become incredibly powerful at Cadarn Elves, and I'm hoping to showcase that in this video. But first off, to use this method, there's a couple requirements that you need. You have to complete the quest Plague's End for access to the Elf City, and you also need to own a Noxious Scythe. You don't need the Scythe in order to kill elves, however, to kill them as fast as possible, you will need access to those 2H multi-target melee abilities, which are the reason why this task is such good XP. So if you have to kill them with Drygores or with some other style of weapon, elves are still good money. I would still recommend doing the task, but in order to power slay them as fast as possible, the Scythe is required. So let's go ahead and get into this guide, and I'll show you guys how to kill some elves very, very quickly. So as always with these Slayer guides, we're going to jump into some quick info about the task before we showcase killing the elves themselves. And first of all, the Slayer XP rate is very, very good, up to around 360k XP per hour in Slayer, which is around 600 elves killed per hour, and obviously you don't get assigned tasks that large, but that would be the hourly rate if you were able to, simply to be able to compare how good this task is to other tasks. And you can achieve rates like that if you're using the higher level setup, which I will show later on in the guide. Also, the profit is pretty good. That's the amount of money that you can make using area looting, and you can also use a pack yak to bank some of this stuff like battle staves and rune crossbows if you wish. Just keep in mind that if you are focusing too much on picking up the non-noted drops, then that will cut down on your XP rate a little bit. Also, the charms are decent. They drop a lot of crimsons, and that is helpful to people who don't have 99 or 120 summoning already, but it's not one of the better charms in the game. This is no Glaciors or Calgarian demons in terms of summoning XP. So here are the gear setups that I'll be recommending, and obviously both of these do have a size, so they both are fairly expensive gear setups. The lower level one is just with Bandos and also a Blood Fury, and with this setup I would not recommend using the Berserk ability just because you will have to eat quite a bit of food, and you really don't want to eat food because the main reason these elves are so good is for using the Quake and Hurricane Threshold abilities. Really speeds up kills, so you want to avoid eating as much as possible so that you can use those two abilities as much as possible. Vampirism Aura is very important here. I would recommend bringing it. With the higher level setup, you can have an Amulet of Souls, which means your Soul Split will heal a lot more, and also the Malevolent Armor provides much better defense. And with this setup, I would recommend bringing a Vigor and then using the Berserk ability. And with the increased healing from the Amulet of Souls and also the Vampirism Aura, you should be able to heal all your health back just fine even when using Zerk. For your inventory, this task is quite short, so you won't need that many prayer potions. That should get you through a whole task using Turmoil and Soul Split the whole time, and you'll use 3 to 4 doses of Overload, and that will last the entire task. The path to Elves is relatively straightforward. This is one of the easiest tasks to get to, especially if you're getting all your assignments from Morvran. You just head east from the Lodestone and head to the Cadarn area, and you want to head to the southern area because all the elves are packed in tightly to one another, which means that the abilities like Quake and Hurricane are going to hit multiple elves, and they're all there just ripe for the killing. So you just want to pot up and start going to town on these fools, and you will just kill them incredibly fast. It's ridiculous how quickly these elves go down, and also the reason why the XP is so good here is they don't have very much health. You can sometimes kill them in 2 to 3 abilities, especially if you're using the Hurricane, which hit multiple times, and they give 608 Slayer experience per kill, which is just ridiculous. So this is an incredibly easy method for killing the elves. Just make sure you're taking advantage of Hurricane and Quake as much as possible, hit as many elves as possible with those abilities, and also don't focus too much on looting. Just occasionally, once every couple of minutes, use area loot to pick up all of your drops, but you mostly want to be focusing on bringing these elves down as fast as you can. A few final thoughts on the Elves task is one other thing I did try using is Tetsu, and I just found that the extra defense from Tetsu really is not necessary. Bandos is completely fine here, so I'd really recommend using that over Tetsu. However, if your Vampirism Aura is on cooldown and you're finding yourself at a lack for healing and you really don't want to be eating that food and reducing your adrenaline, that's one other option that you can try. Also, the melee XP right here is pretty good. It's around 500k per hour if you're getting that 600 elf kill an hour mark, which is decent. It's not quite at the level of Aerith's for sure, but it's pretty good Slayer XP, better than most Slayer tasks that you can do with melee. And also, it's really nice to have a task that profits quite a bit as well as is good Slayer XP. Usually you have to settle for one or the other, but with these elves, I was making over 3 mil an hour easily, and that's with barely putting any effort into picking up the drops, just using the area loot. So if you do need money from Slayer and you want to get decent melee XP and really good Slayer XP, this is a task that you probably want to put on your prefer list as soon as possible. So for this video's loot, I did a task of 153 Cadarn Elves, and the entire time took 17 minutes, which is probably the major downside of the Elves task. Just like a really good sandwich, it's amazing while it lasts, but it is over fairly quickly. But the rewards during that time were great, 94,000 Slayer XP, and made over $1 million in profit as well, and that's without banking any of the non-notable drops, such as the battle staves and the grimy herbs that are not in noted form. And by notable, I mean drops in noted form, not the drops that are incredibly amazing. Of course, you can get some additional special drops on top of that, such as ceramic scales or even an attuned crystal armor seed, and none of that happened during this task, but just keep in mind if you do get stuff like ceramic scales, that can raise your profit by quite a bit. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, farewell.